Learned yesterday that my count was off. Today is day 21 of 1,825, where I studied the subject of leadership. And today's date is May 26, 2025, which is a special day for me because on this day, 18 years ago, I got married to the woman of my dreams, and today is our 18th year anniversary. And while we're on vacation, she's sleeping and the kids are asleep, I said I'll take the opportunity now to do my 1 hour of leadership training because I do plan on doing this straight through without any days off. So even on anniversaries and vacations and holidays, and because it is Memorial Day as well, uh, I'm going to make sure I do this because it's going to be a fun-filled day. We're planning on doing a little bit of going out, sightseeing, and things like that. So now's the best time to do it. And if you're wondering what book I'm reading right now the book by John Maxwell and Jim Dornan called Becoming a Person of Influence. Becoming a Person of Influence. So we're going to jump into it in a moment. But before that, I always like to give you my vision, my mission in life. And my vision in life is, I believe, God given. It's to build a church of 2,000 partners that impacts the world with the word of truth. And I plan on building that church right there in Vineland, New Jersey, where I currently live. And my mission, which I'm passionate about, is to save souls, develop disciples, lead leaders. I believe that God's way, the way of the Word of God, is the best way to live my life and the best way for people to live their life. Before I was saved, I lived a completely different life. I always was a good person, but I had my ways and I had my sins and I had my addictions that I enjoyed doing. But then once after a while, I learned that the things that I enjoyed doing, my addictions were not things I did for fun. They had actually became my chains. I couldn't free myself from them. I couldn't live my life the way I wanted to. And even after I got saved, I struggled with many of those same chains. And it wasn't until I understood how to apply the Word of God, apply the principles of the Word of God in my own life, that I learned how to live free. One of the issues I have now is being consistent and being committed. Things like my diet is probably the thing that I'm working now. Uh, and even on vacation now, I'm challenging myself to stick to my diet. There was a time when I weighed about 275 pounds or even more because I stopped weighing myself after a while because I was so defeated by it. Found myself in the hospital praying that I needed healing, and I got in my heart this feeling, this word that came to my heart, and I know it to be the Lord. And it said that I didn't need healing, I needed discipline. I needed discipline. So discipline is my word, discipline. Um, I read a book or listened to a message by not John Maxwell, by, what was his name? Miles Monroe. Listened to a book by Miles Monroe, and he said, discipline is self-imposed standards for the sake of a higher goal. Self-imposed standards for the sake of a higher goal. And I began to go to the gym, and I would listen to messages by him and other people, and they would motivate me. And I knew that I needed more than motivation. Motivation will get you started, but motivation won't cause you to have success. It won't cause you to be committed to the thing that you need to be committed to. And I know it's loud here. I don't have any microphone or anything on me, but I had to learn to be disciplined. And from that day to this day, I've lost about 30 pounds. From being in the hospital to this day, I've lost about 30 pounds. My health is much better, but it's not where I want to be. I want to get that 32-inch waist. I want to have that six pack. I want to be the most fit I've ever been in my life. And when I was a child, I was super fit. So uh, I want to get that back. I want to be able to run with my children, my grandchildren, and I want to play with my great grand. So I know I need that discipline. So this is one of the things I'm doing. implementing discipline where leadership is concerned. And I've ran it for already 5 minutes, but just to give you a little background of what I'm doing. Grew up in a very undisciplined household. Food was something that controlled us. Didn't know it, but as I got older and wanted to break those habits, food was one of those things that controlled me. Um, Addiction to adult videos was another thing that controlled me. Needed to fix that, get that out of my life, and needed that discipline, that commitment to being the best version of myself, as some people would say. And I'm working on that. That's what I'm doing now. So, on my anniversary, my 18th anniversary, here I am on vacation, staying committed to my goal, which is to read or to study leadership for 1 hour a day for 1,825 days over 5 years. All right, enough ranting. I'll rant more about myself in another time. We are reading this book, Becoming a Person of Influence, and we are on page 104. In this book's this subject, or the subject of this chapter is called Becoming a Person of Influence. A person of influence understands people. So let's jump into it. On day 21, let's start reading. Hopefully this helps you like it's been helping me. Okay. Failure to acknowledge similarities. And we are talking right now. Let me go back and see what we're discussing. Why people fail. Why people fail. One of the reasons here is failure to acknowledge similarities. It says, as you learn more about people and get to know others well, as soon as you begin to realize that you soon realize that people have a lot in common. We all have hopes and fears, sorrows, joys, victories, and problems. Probably the time when people are least likely to recognize their common ground with others is during adolescence. We came across a story that illustrates this. A teenage girl was talking to her father about all her problems. She told him of the terrible peer pressure she faced, about conflicts with friends, and difficulties with schoolwork and teachers. In an attempt to help her put everything in perspective, he told her that life was not as dark as it may seem, and in fact, much of her worry was perhaps unnecessary. That's easy for you to say, Dad, she replied. You already have all your problems over with. All people have an emotional reaction to what's happening around them. To foster understanding, think of what your emotions would be if you were in the same position as the person you're interacting with. You know what you want to happen in any given You know what you want to happen in any given situation. Also, let me remind you, let me tell you, it is 6 something in the morning right now. So, gotta get this going. Let's keep going. We found a wonderful example of a person who understands this approach. A candy store sold its exotic chocolates only by the pound. In the store was one particular sales clerk who always had customers lined up waiting, while other sales clerks stood around with nothing to do. The owner of the store noticed how the customers flocked to her and finally asked her the secret. It's easy, she said. The other girls scoop up more than a pound of candy and then start taking it. I always scoop up less than a pound and then add to it. The customers feel that I'm looking out for them and getting their money's worth. Pretty smart. Things everybody needs to understand about people. Knowing what people need and want is the key to understanding them. If you want to understand them, you can influence them and impact their lives in a positive way. If you were to boil down all the things we know about understanding people and narrow them down to a short list, we would identify these 5 things. Number 1, everybody wants to be somebody. Say that. Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to be somebody. Okay. There isn't a person in the world who doesn't have the desire to be someone, to have significance. Even the least ambitious and unassuming person wants to be regarded highly by others. John remembers the first time these feelings were stirred strongly within him. It's back when he was in fourth grade. I went to my first basketball game when I was 9 years old. I can still see it in my head. I stood with buddies in the balcony of the gym. The thing that I remember most wasn't the game, it was the announcements of the starting line. They turned all the lights out, and then some spotlights came on. Apologize if there's a lot of noise in the background. People are doing some construction behind me. The announcer called out the names of the starters, and they ran out to the middle of the floor, one by one, with everybody in the place cheering. I hung over the balcony that day in the fourth grade as a fourth grade kid and said, "Wow, I'd like that to happen to me." In fact, by the time the introductions were over, I looked at my friend Bobby Wilson and said, "Bobby, when I get to high school, they're going to announce my name, and I'm going to run out in the spotlight in the middle of the basketball floor. And people are going to cheer for me because I'm going to become somebody." I went home that night and told my dad I want to become a basketball player. I'll take this inside. It's getting a little loud out here. So let me go read at the team. All right, here we go. It's a little dark in here, and I am dark chocolate candy. So let me go turn the light on. Here we go. Hopefully that's enough for you to see me. We'll see. Here we go. Put you right under the lights. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to hear. But let's go. And because everybody is sleeping, I'll try to be a little more quiet. Right. Let me see something here. Hopefully that helps. That's the best I can do right now. Like I said, it's about getting this hour done and being accountable. So here we go. So I went home that night and told my dad I want to be a successful basketball player. Soon afterward, he got up. He got me a Spalding basketball, and we put a goal on the garage. I used to shovel snow off the driveway to practice my foul shots and play basketball because I had a dream of becoming somebody. It's funny how that kind of dream can impact your life. I remember in sixth grade we played intramural basketball. I've never seen that word written out. We've always said it at school. We would play something, they used to say it at school, intramural. I didn't even know there was a R before the A. Basketball. And our team won a couple of games, so we got to go to the old Mill Street Gym in Circleville, Ohio, where I'd seen the basketball game in the fourth grade. When we got there, instead of going onto the floor with the rest of the players as they were warming up, I went over to the bench where those high school players had been 2 years ago. I sat right where they had, and I closed my eyes, the equivalent of turning the lights out in the gym. Then in my head, I heard my name announced, and I ran out in the middle of the floor. It felt so good to hear the imaginary applause that I thought I'll do it again. So I did. In fact, I did it 3 times, and all of a sudden I realized that my buddies weren't playing basketball, they were just watching me in disbelief. But I didn't care because I was one step closer to being the person I dreamed of becoming. Everybody wants to be regarded and valued. In other words, everybody wants to be somebody. Once that piece of information becomes a part of your everyday thinking, you'll gain incredible insight into why people do the things they do. And if you treat everybody or every person you meet as if he or she were the most important person in the world, you'll communicate that he or she is somebody to you. Number 2, nobody cares how much you know until he knows how much you care. To be an influencer, you have to love people before you try to lead them. The moment that people know that you care for or about them, they will feel about you, or the way they feel about you will change. Showing others that you care isn't always easy. Your greatest times and fondest memories will come because of people, but so will your most difficult, hurting, and tragic times. People are your greatest asset, and they're your greatest liabilities. The challenge is to keep caring about them no matter what. We came across something called paradoxical commandments of leadership. Here's what it says. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you'll win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will perhaps be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest man with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest man in the smallest mind. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs, but follow only hot dogs. People favor underdogs, but follow only hot dogs. Fight for the few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you help them. Help them anyway. That's the paradoxical commandments of leadership. I like that. Here's another one. Give the world the best that you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best that you have anyway. If better be possible, if better is possible, then good is not enough. I'll say that again, I like that. If better is possible, then good is not enough. If you want to help others and become a person of influence, keep smiling, sharing, giving, and turning the other cheek. That's the right way to treat people. Besides, you never know which people in your sphere of influence are going to rise up and make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Wow. Number 3, everybody needs somebody. If you want to be somewhere, everybody. Okay. Contrary to popular belief, there are no such things as self-made men and women. Everybody needs friendships, encouragement, and help. What people can accomplish by themselves is almost nothing compared to their potential when working with others. And doing things with other people tends to bring contentment. Besides, Lone Rangers are rarely people or happy people. Lone Rangers are rarely happy people. King Solomon of ancient Israel stated the value of working together this way. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls. and he has no one to help him up. Also, if two lie down together, they'll keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Let's continue here. People who try to do everything alone often get themselves in trouble. One of the wildest stories we've ever seen on this subject came from the insurance claim form a bricklayer who got hurt at a building site. One of the wildest stories we've ever heard on this subject came from the insurance claim from a bricklayer who got hurt on a building site. He was trying to get a load of bricks down from the top floor of the building without asking for help from anyone else. He wrote, this is funny. It's got to be funny. It would have taken too long to carry all the bricks down by hand, so I decided to put them in a wheelbarrow and lower them by a pulley which I had fastened to the top of the building. After tying the rope securely at the ground level, I then went up to the top of the building. I fastened the rope around the barrel, loaded it with bricks, and swung it over the sidewalk for the descent. Then I went down to the sidewalk and untied the rope, holding it securely to guide the wheelbarrow down slowly. But since I only weigh 140 pounds, the 500-pound jerked me from the ground so fast that I didn't have time to think of letting go of the ropes. As I passed between the second and third floors, I met the barrel coming down. This accounts for the bruises and lacerations on my upper body. I held tightly to the rope until I reached the top, where my hands became jammed in the pulley. That accounts for my broken thumbs. Wow. At the same time, however, the wheelbarrow hit the sidewalk with a bang and the bottom fell out. The weight of the bricks gone, the barrel only weighed about 40 pounds. Thus, my 140-pound body began a swift descent, and I met the empty wheelbarrow coming up. This accounts for my broken ankles. Slowed only slightly, I continued the descent and landed on a pile of bricks. This accounts for my sprained ankles, or my sprained back, and broke collarbone. At this point, I lost my presence of mind completely, and I let go of the rope. And the empty wheelbarrow came crashing down on me. This accounts for my head injuries. And as for the last question on your insurance form, what would I do if the same situation rose again? Please be advised, I am finished trying to do the job all by myself. That's a pretty good story. Please be advised, I am finished trying to do the job all by myself. Everybody needs somebody to come along and help. If you understand that and are willing to give to others and help them and maintain the right motives, their lives will change as well as yours. Everybody can be somebody when somebody understands and believes in her. Once you understand people and believe in them, they really can become somebody. And it doesn't take time or take much effort to help other people feel important. Little things done deliberately at the right time can make a big difference, as this story from John shows. For 14 years, I was privileged to pastor a very large congregation in the San Diego area where we did a wonderful Christmas program every year. We used to do 28 performances, and altogether about 30,000 people saw it each year. The show always included a bunch of kids, and one of my favorite parts of the show several years ago was a song in which 300 kids dressed like angels sang with holding candles. Towards the end of the song, they walked off the stage, came up the aisle, and exited out of the lobby in the front of the church. During the first performance, I decided to wait for them back in the lobby. They didn't know I was going to be there, but as they went by, I clapped, praised them, and said, "Kids, you did a great job." They were surprised to see me, and they were glad for their encouragement. For the second performance, I did the same thing, and I could see as they started to walk up the aisles, they were looking back expectantly to see if I were standing there to cheer them on. By the third performance of the night, as they turned the corner to come up the aisle, they had smiles on their faces. And when they got to the lobby, they were giving me high fives and having a great time. They knew I believed in them, and it made all of them feel that they were somebody. When was the last time you went out of your way to make people feel special, as if they were somebody? The investment required on your part is totally overshadowed by the impact it makes on them. Everyone you know and all the people you meet have the potential to become or to be somebody important in the lives of others. All they need is encouragement and motivation from you to help them reach their potential. Number 5, anybody who helps somebody influences a lot of bodies. Anybody who helps somebody influences a lot of bodies. The final thing you need to understand about people is that when you help one person, you're really impacting a lot of other people. What you give to one person overflows into the lives of all the people that person impacts. The nature of influence is to multiply. It even impacts you because when you help others and your motives are good, you always receive more than you can ever give. Most people are genuinely grateful when other people make them feel that they're somebody special, that they never tire of showing their gratitude. Choose to understand people. In the end, the ability to understand people is a choice. It's true that some people are born with great instincts that enable them to understand how others think and feel. But even if you aren't as instinctive or aren't an instinctive person, you can improve your ability to work with others. Every person is capable of having the ability to understand, motivate, and ultimately influence others. If you truly want to make a difference in the lives of others, then make up your mind to possess the other person's perspective. Mark McCormick, author of What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School, wrote about an amusing story for Entrepreneur magazine. It illustrates the value of recognizing other people's perspective. He said, "A few years ago, I was standing in an airport ticket line. In front of me were two children fighting over an ice cream cone. In front of them was a woman in a mint coat. I could see this was an accident waiting to happen. Should I interfere? I was still pondering this when I heard the girl tell the boy, 'If you don't stop, Charlie, you'll get hairs from that lady's coat on your cone.' Most people don't look beyond their own personal experience when dealing with others. They tend to see other people and events in the context of their own position, background, or circumstances." That's pretty good. For example, Pat McInally of the NFL Cincinnati Bengals said, "At Harvard, they labeled me a jock. In the pros, they considered me an intellectual. Though he had not changed, other people's perspective of him had." Whenever you look at things from the other person's perspective, you'll receive a whole new way of looking at life, and you'll find new ways of helping others. A story from the book Zadig, I guess, by Voltaire, shows the value of looking at people and situations in a new way. A country's ruler was upset because his favorite horse was missing.
The king sent couriers throughout the land to look for it, but to no avail. In desperation, the king offered a great reward. Many came hoping to win it and searched for the horse, but they all failed. The horse had disappeared. A simpleton at the king's court sought an audience with the monarch and told him that he could find the horse. You, exclaimed the king, you can find my horse when all others have failed? Yes, sire, answered the simpleton. Then do it, said the king, who had nothing to lose. Within hours, the horse came back at the palace. The king was astounded. He immediately had his treasurer issue a handsome reward to the man and asked him how he had found it when many others considered wise had not. It's easy, sire, said the simpleton. I merely asked myself, if I was a horse, where would I go? And putting myself in his place, I soon found him. Personal empathy. Another quality that you need if you want to understand and help others is personal empathy. Not everyone is naturally empathetic, as is evident in the story about a Kansas pastor or Kansas preacher. It seems that the preacher was returning home after a visit to New England, and one of his parishioners met him at the train station. Well, asked the preacher, how are things at home? Sad, real sad, pastor, answered the man. A cyclone came and wiped out my house. Well, I'm not surprised, said the unsympathetic parson with a frown. You remember, I've been warning you about the way you've been living. Punishment for sin is inevitable. It also it also destroyed your house, pastor, added the layman. It did, the pastor said, momentarily surprised. Ah, me? The ways of the Lord are past understanding. Don't wait for your house to be blown away or blown down to have feelings about people's troubles and shortcomings. Reach out to others with a strong hand, but a soft heart. Reach out to others with a strong hand and a soft heart. They'll respond to you positively. Oh, we're already halfway over. A positive attitude with people, or a positive attitude about people. Author Harper Lee wrote, people generally see what they look for and hear what they listen for. If you have a positive attitude about people, believe the best in people, and act on your beliefs, then you can have an impact on their lives. But it all starts with the way you think of others. You can't be a positive influencer if your thinking is like this. When the other fellow takes a long time, he's slow. When I take a long time, I'm thorough. When the other fellow doesn't do it, he's lazy. When I don't do it, I'm busy. When the other fellow does something without being told, he's overstepping his bounds. When I do it, that's initiative. When the other fellow overlooks a rule of etiquette, he's rude. When I skip a few rules, I'm original. When the other fellow pleases the boss, he's an apple polisher. When I please the boss, it's cooperation. When the other fellow gets ahead, he's getting the breaks. When I manage to get ahead, that's just the reward of hard work. Your attitude towards people is one of the most important choices you'll ever make. If your thinking is positive, you can really make an impact on them. Pastor Robert Schuller, a strong proponent of positive thinking, tells the following story to Life Changers, or in Life Changers. I'm the greatest basketball player in the world, the little boy boasted as he strutted around the backyard, shouldering his bat. Or did I say baseball? I'm the greatest baseball player in the world, the little boy boasted as he strutted around his backyard. Shouldering his bat, he tossed the baseball up and swung and missed. I'm the greatest ball player in the world, he reiterated. He picked up the ball again, swung, and missed again. Stopping a moment to examine his bat, He stooped and picked up his ball. I'm the greatest baseball player who ever lived. The momentum of his swing nearly knocked him down, but the ball plopped unscathed at his feet. Wow, he exclaimed. What a picture. That's a good one. If you want to become a person of influence, have an attitude towards others similar to the attitude of the little boy towards himself. Jim was reminded of the importance of understanding people and seeing things from their perspective when visiting his aging parents in New York recently. My parents are in the upper 80s and they worked hard all their lives. My dad was the city editor of the Niagara Falls Gazette, and my mother was the night supervising nurse at Niagara Falls Memorial Hospital. She worked for years from 11 to 7 when I was young so that she could be home to get me up for school, making breakfast and packing my lunch. That's 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I should say. And then she was there when I got home from school each afternoon. I hardly recognized she worked. Growing up, we always lived in a very small house. After they retired, they sold it and moved to a small apartment to live on their modest pension. Like most people who have been blessed financially, Nancy and I are always looking for ways to help our parents and repay them in some small way for the positive things they have done for us over the years. Recently, we thought we could help them by leasing them a penthouse unit in the most prestigious apartment building in the city. It was incredible, and even had a view of Niagara Falls. But after 6 months, my parents asked if they could move out. My mother's eyesight was now so poor that she couldn't see the falls. Dad, on the other hand, could see the falls fine, but was made extremely uncomfortable by being up so high. We were disappointed that they didn't like it, but we readily agreed to move them back into their small apartment. My desire to help them was still strong, so one day, after we got them squared away in their place, I took Mom to the store. Though she claimed she didn't need anything, I did manage to talk her into letting me get her a few items: a new trash can, some flatware, a small radio, and a new toaster. The old one had shot the toast out like a cannon when it was done. And it made me feel good when I overheard her showing the toaster to a neighbor and saying, "My son bought this for me." Nancy and I wanted to get them something big, but that's not what they wanted. That wasn't important to them. They were happy with a toaster. Oh yes, there was one other item they finally admitted that they could use. Oh yes, there was one other item they finally admitted that they could use: a small tree for the front of their apartment. They thought it would be nice to have some shade in the summer when they sat outside. But they're so expensive, my mother said. Just get a sapling. We wanted them to have shade today, not 15 years from now. So we went out and got them the biggest tree we could find. And it didn't take a lot of money to make them happy, just a little understanding. Not everyone learns that lesson. Lots of people try to push their own agenda, and then they wonder why they have no pull with others. To make an impact on others, find out what people want and then help them get it. That motivates them. And that's what makes it possible for you to become a person of influence in their lives. I'm just reading. Chapter 6. A person of influence enlarges people. Person of influence enlarges people. Once you have a model of integrity with others, or once you have been a model of integrity with others and successfully motivated them, you're ready to take the next step in the process of becoming a person of influence in their lives. Jim has a story that will give you an idea of what the next step looks like. Over the years, Eric has been through more than 30 individual brain operations, but that has never stopped him from being mentally sharp and full of optimism. And his great sense of humor keeps all of us entertained. During one of his many surgeries, Eric experienced an interoperative stroke. The resulting loss of muscle balance has limited the use of his right hand and given him severe curvature of the spine. After a couple of years, that required another surgery in which the doctors performed spinal fusion and implanted steel rods from the base of his neck to his pelvis. Wow. He spent 3 months in a full body cast during his long recovery, and as a result, many of his previous abilities were reduced dramatically. But Eric came through it all with positive spirits. But Eric came through it all with characteristically positive spirits. After Eric's spinal surgery, Nancy could no longer handle him alone, so we decided it was time to employ a full-time home aide to lift him up, help him with his daily life, and assist him with his ongoing rehabilitation. We knew the type of person we wanted to hire, but we had no idea where or how to locate him. One day, while Nancy was talking to one of our 4 medical contacts, she heard about a person named Fernando. He sounded great. He's the perfect person, our friend had said, but you'll never get him. Nancy's response was, just give me his number and let us worry about whether or not we can get him. A few weeks later, we hired him, and he was and has been wonderful. Fernando had been a life skills trainer at Sharp Hospital, and though he was only 5 years older than Eric, he had already been a manager of a group for abused kids and worked in the field of rehab for 7 years. He and Eric bonded immediately. Fernando provided a perfect combination of professional skills and companionship. It's difficult to describe what a wonderful gift God has provided to Eric and our family in the person of Fernando. He sees his mission as that of enlarging Eric to keep him growing toward his full potential. Fernando constantly learns new information and techniques in his field, and he seeks ways to expose Eric to new experiences and to challenge him to grow. As a result, Eric's life hasn't been the same. In the time that the two of them have been doing things together, Eric has done a lot more than go skiing every year. He learned to jet ski. I could have never visualized Eric going 40 miles per hour on the water, but Fernando believed Eric could do it, and so he did it. Eric also volunteers as a tutor with second graders, studies German, works in our office 2 days a week, swims a couple days a week, and has begun to work out with weights. It's hard for us to remember that Eric isn't severely limited physically. Wow. Because his life is so full, challenging, and expanding every day. One of Eric's greatest experiences since teaming with Fernando has been the involvement of power soccer. It's a new sport played by people using power wheelchairs. They meet in the gymnasiums where they compete as teams and score goals using a large ball. Eric loves it and usually prefers to play goalie. Not long ago, Fernando took Eric to Vancouver, Canada to compete in a power soccer tournament. It was quite an experience for Eric. They flew together, rented a car, got their hotel room, and got around town, just the two of them. Eric loved it, especially competing in the 5-day tournament where he scored 2 goals. And best of all, his team won the gold medal. We had never seen Eric so excited as when he returned from the tournament. He wore his medal home on the plane, and I didn't think he touched the ground for days. Since then, his confidence has been so strong that he's willing to tackle just about any kind of challenge, and for that, Fernando deserves a lot of credit. Without his belief in Eric and his desire to expand his world, none of this would have happened. To become a person of influence and to make a positive impact on people, you have to come alongside them and really get involved in their lives. That's what happened. That's what Fernando did and continues to do for Jim's son, Eric. And that's what you need to do with people for whom you want to make a difference. Modeling a life of integrity is an important first step in becoming a person of influence because it creates a strong foundation with others. And the next natural step is motivating people. As you nurture people, show your faith in them, listen to their hopes and fears, and demonstrate your understanding of them, you build a strong relational connection and give them incentive to succeed and to be influenced by you. But if you want people to be able to really grow, improve, and succeed, you have to take the next step with them. You have to become a mentor to them. The meaning of mentoring. Giving people the motivation to grow without also providing them the means to do it is a tragedy. I'll read that again. Giving people the motivation to grow without also providing them the means of doing it is a tragedy. But the mentoring process offers people the opportunity to turn their potential into reality, their dreams into destiny. Mentors impact eternity because there is no willing or no telling where their influence will stop. 19th century British statesman William Gladstone asserted, he is a wise man who wastes no energy on pursuits for which he is fitted. And he is wiser still, whom from among the things he can do well, chooses and resolutely follows the best. Most people don't have a natural knack for spotting their greatest areas of potential. They need help doing it, especially as they begin growing and striving to reach their potential. And that's why it's important for you to become a mentor in the lives of people you desire to help. You need to lead them in their areas of personal and professional growth until they are able to work in these areas independently. The authors of the Leadership Challenge, James N. Kouzes and Barry Z. Posner, offer insights on leadership that pertain to the subject of mentoring. Leaders are pioneers. They are people who venture into unexplored territory. They guide us to new and often unfamiliar destinations. The unique reason for having leaders, their differentiating functions, is to motivate us forward. Leaders get us going someplace. Leaders get us going someplace. All right, let's keep going. We only have about 10 minutes left. Leading mentors move the people they are developing into growth in areas of strength. In this chapter, And in the next three, we'll focus on 4 ways of accomplishing the task of mentoring others, enlarging people, helping them navigate through life's problems, connecting with them on a deeper level, and empowering them to reach their full potential. Enlarging others is an investment. Author Alan Lloyd McGinnis observed, "There is no more notable occupation in the world than to assist another human being, to help someone succeed. Helping others enlarge themselves is one of the most incredible things you can ever do for them." As John says in his book, The Success Journey, growing to reach your potential is one of the 3 components of being successful, along with knowing your purpose and sowing seeds that benefits others. Robert Gross, former president of Lockheed Aircraft Corporation, once explained to his supervisors, "It's one thing to build a product, it's another thing to build a company, because companies are nothing but men, and the things that come out of them are no better than the people themselves." We do not build automobiles, airplanes, refrigerators, radios, or shoestrings. We build men. The men build the product. That's pretty good. When you enlarge others, you do several things. Raise their level of living. Dennis Waitley said, "The greatest achievements are those that benefit others." Anytime you help people to enlarge themselves in any area of their lives, you benefit them because you make it possible for them to step up to a new level of living. As people develop their gifts and talents, learn new skills, and broaden their problem-solving abilities, their quality of living, and level of contentment improves. Their level of quality of living and level of contentment improve dramatically. No one can grow and remain unaffected in the way he lives his life. Increase their potential for success. Businessman George Crane claimed that there is no future in any job. The future lies in the man who holds the job. When you enlarge other people, you brighten their future. When they expand their horizons, improve their attitudes, increase their skills, or learn new ways to think, they perform and live better. And that increases their potential. Increase their capacity for growth. When you help people enlarge themselves, you aren't giving them only temporary short-term shot. Let me say that again. When you help people enlarge themselves, you aren't giving them only a temporary short-term shot in the arm or tools that will help them only today. Enlarging has long-term benefits. It helps them become better equipped, and it increases their capacity to learn and grow. After being enlarged, whenever they receive a resource or opportunity, they are better able to use it to its greatest benefit, and their growth begins to multiply. Increase the potential of your organization. The people who are working to enlarge a part of a group, no matter whether it's a business, church, sports team, or club, then the whole group benefits from their growth. If the people who are working to enlarge are a part of a group, if the people who if the people you are working to enlarge are part of a group, then the whole group benefits from their growth. For example, if many people in your organization improve themselves even slightly, the quality of your whole organization increases. If a few people improve themselves a lot, the potential of growth and success increases due to the increased leadership of the people. And if both kinds of growth occur as a result of your enlarging, hang on because your organization is about to take off. Okay. Cool. Fred Smith, a friend of John, is an excellent leader, entrepreneur, and business consultant. Fred had been advising a group of 20 young CEOs and meeting with them monthly for about 3 years when he decided that they needed to spend some time on their own. So he told them he would not be coming back to see them for a while. They continued to get together without him. Eventually, they asked him to come back for a visit. When he did, they presented him with a piece of baccarat crystal. On it were etched the words, "He stretched us." Fred has been stretching and enlarging others for decades because he realizes the incredible value added not only to the people being stretched, but also to all the people they influence. Most people are funny, they want to get ahead and succeed, but they are reluctant to change. They are often willing to grow only because or only enough to accommodate their problems. Instead, they need to grow enough to achieve their potential. That's why they need to help. They need help from you. That's why they need help from you. Authors Helen Sukman and William Thetford aptly said, "Every situation, properly perceived, becomes an opportunity. When you enlarge others, you seize an opportunity to help them reach their potential." French essayist Michael Equiem de Montaigne wrote, "The value of life lies not in length of days, but in the use we make of them. A man may live long, yet live very little." When you enlarge others, you help them make the most of the time they have and raise their quality of life. Let's keep going a little bit more. Make yourself make yourself an enlarger. Make yourself an enlarger. For many people, just because they want to enlarge others doesn't necessarily mean they are ready for the task. They usually need to do some work on themselves first. That's the facts. As in most instances, if you want to do more for others, you have to become more yourself. That's never more valid than in the area of mentoring. You can teach what you know, but you can reproduce only what you are. Whoa, that's a big statement. You can teach what you know, but you can reproduce what you are. Or you can reproduce only what you are. Wow. Let me read that again. You can teach what you know, but you can reproduce only what you are. Leadership experts Warren Bennis and Bert Nanas spoke to this issue. It is the capacity to develop and improve their skills that distinguishes leaders from their followers. In their preparation to take on a task of helping others enlarges themselves. All right. Well, our hour is just about over. I appreciate you guys being with me today. As you know, today I celebrate my anniversary with my wife. I'm going to have a great day. Until tomorrow, keep walking by faith and always remember that whom the Son sets free is free indeed. I love you. Have a great day. Be blessed. Peace.